Experts failed, but the poor maid solved it in 1 minute, leaving the billionaire peechless. The robotics laboratory had never been so quiet. For 7 straight hours, the country's top engineers surrounded a multi-million-dollar surgical robot that refused to start. Screens flashed red warning lights. Investors waited impatiently behind glass walls. Government officials whispered among themselves. Every passing minute cost Nathan Ellsworth's company thousands of dollars, and possibly its reputation. Nathan, the 53-year-old billionaire founder, stood silently with folded arms. Years of research, millions in investment, and the future of his company depended on today's demonstration. Try another system reset, one engineer suggested. It won't work, another replied. We've checked everything. Software was rewritten. Circuit boards were replaced. Sensors were recalibrated. Nothing changed. Finally, the chief engineer removed his safety glasses and sighed. I'm sorry, Mr. Ellsworth. We don't know what's wrong. A heavy silence filled the room. Nearby, 28-year-old Clara Bennett quietly pushed her cleaning cart across the polished floor. She had spent 3 years cleaning laboratories where nobody remembered her name. To most people, she was invisible. As she collected empty coffee cups, she kept glancing toward the silent machine. Something didn't feel right. Taking a deep breath, she spoke softly. Excuse me, may I ask one question? Several engineers turned toward her. What is it? One asked impatiently. Was the transport safety lock completely released after the machine arrived this morning? The room exploded with laughter. One consultant smirked. We've got engineers with doctorates here. You think we forgot something that basic? Clara lowered her eyes. I'm sorry. I was only wondering. She began pushing her cart away. Nathan stopped her. Wait. Unlike everyone else, he had noticed she wasn't guessing. She looked certain. What made you ask that? He said calmly. Clara hesitated before answering. My father repaired industrial machines for 20 years. Before he became ill, I studied mechanical engineering at university. I had to leave school to care for him, but I never stopped studying. The room fell silent. Nathan nodded. Show us. Clara approached the massive robot carefully. Instead of staring at the computer monitors, she crouched beside the machine and inspected its mechanical frame. Less than a minute later, she pointed beneath a protective bracket. There, a tiny red locking pin remained half engaged. It was installed for transportation, Clara explained. If it isn't fully removed, the safety system blocks the startup sequence. The software thinks the machine is still being shipped. The chief engineer frowned. That's impossible. Then check it, Nathan replied. Hands trembling, an engineer removed the cover. Everyone froze. The pin was still locked. Clara gently released it, reset a small safety lever, and stepped back. For one long second, nothing happened. Then the control panel lit up. Cooling fans started spinning. Hydraulic pumps hummed. Green lights replaced every warning message. The robotic arms moved smoothly into their startup position. The laboratory erupted in applause. Some engineers stared at the floor, too embarrassed to speak. Nathan looked at Clara in complete disbelief. You solved it in less than a minute. Clara smiled politely. The machine wasn't broken. Everyone was looking for a complicated failure instead of checking the simplest possibility. Later that afternoon, Nathan invited Clara into his office. She told him the truth. She had completed 3 years of engineering before her father's illness forced her to quit university. Medical bills emptied their savings, and housekeeping became the only job that allowed her to care for him. But every evening, she admitted, I still study engineering books. Dreams don't disappear just because life becomes difficult. Nathan remained silent for several moments. Then he asked one question. If I give you another chance, will you finish what you started? Tears filled Clara's eyes. More than anything. The following Monday, Nathan announced a decision that shocked the entire company. Clara would become a paid engineering apprentice. The company would fund the rest of her education, and every employee, regardless of job title, would be allowed to submit ideas directly to senior management. Many engineers were skeptical, until Clara proved herself again. Within 2 years, she helped redesign several mechanical components that reduced manufacturing costs and improved patient safety in hospitals across the country. Her name eventually appeared on multiple engineering patents. Whenever reporters asked Nathan what the greatest investment of his career had been, they expected him to mention a robot worth billions. Instead, he always gave the same answer. The greatest investment I ever made was believing someone everyone else ignored. Years later, Clara stood in the same laboratory, now wearing an engineer's badge instead of a housekeeping uniform. As new employees gathered around her, she smiled and repeated the lesson that changed her life forever. Never underestimate anyone. Sometimes the person with the simplest question is the one holding the answer everyone else missed.